Well, hey everybody, it's Chuck. Welcome back. Well, today's the day. Well, it happened last night anyway. The Cybertruck finally got full self-driving supervised, and it's a new build. This is build 12.5.5, which includes the first version of end-to-end neural nets for the highway mode. So I look forward to going out and driving today, testing that for you guys. But as kind of an intro, I just figured I would give you a little bit of details about what I'm going to do and how I'm going to do it. I'm going to do my typical Memorial Park drive with some highway mode, do a couple unprotected left-hand turns. It is early morning, the sun just came up, the lighting isn't great yet, but it's actually going to be fine by the time we get out and start driving. I wanted to show you a little bit about the truck and a little bit about how the cameras I'm going to be using and what I'm going to be testing. All right, the first thing I want you to notice is that I have a piece of tape covering up the bumper camera. This is so that I can demonstrate that the bumper camera is not used in full self-driving, or at least I don't get any alerts that it is covered up. I have my 360 camera located on the top of the truck, but it's even with the B-pillar. And I continue to do that in my videos so that I can show you guys the perspective that the B-pillar has, perhaps on unprotected left-hand turns. Other than that, I don't have a whole lot of setup inside yet because we don't have any sort of HDMI extract for the truck yet. So I just have my GoPro mounted there, and that GoPro location will essentially also be the screen recording. And I'll have to just zoom in on the screen because we just don't have anything there for the screen yet. But in any case, let's get underway and let me show you what we got. Okay, here we are inside the car, and I just wanted to show you a few of the settings that we have here. First of all, the software version. The software version is full self-driving 12.5.5. It's the first time we've gone to that release number. And we are running a 2024.32.20 software build there. So we jumped up, we're on 32 branch, but we're on .20 and also running FSD 12.5.5. 12.5.5 is the first one that has the end-to-end neural networks. The release notes are made publicly, but there's a few important things to cut out note here. And on highway and sunglasses are included here. The upcoming improvements did change though, so you recognize introduction of speed profiles are coming and improved performance at intersections and stops are two things in addition to parking lots that are coming new. So anyway, those are some things to look forward to. In the actual settings for autopilot, I do want to point out that it came straight to full self-driving supervised. Expanded visualization is selected, but automatic speed offset, this is another thing we're going to test today. You can turn it off, and you can set an offset, or you can turn it back on with an approval there. And I believe you can change that while you're driving. So if I have it off, I'm going to see if I can get an offset of 10% set there. And hopefully today, while I'm driving around, that will stick. So there it's on, and there it's off, and that offset is there. This speed limit, current speed, is grayed out, and when I select automatic, that section goes away. So hopefully my hand is not in the way. I'm used to narrating with an HDMI screen extract. So those are the settings there that we have that are new. Very exciting to get out and try this today. So let me get set up and we'll get her underway. Stick with me. All right, everybody. Well, here we go. Let's get her going. Let's get a unprotected left-hand turn started here. And as you see, I got the squircle up there that is engaged with a tiny little green square representing the vision monitoring is working. And here we are at our first unprotected left-hand turn. Obviously, I'm in full screen view here. I'll try to keep my hand out of the way. We need to do a little bit of a creep. All right, we need to wait. We need to wait. Okay, there's a small gap here. If we go for it, we got to get it. Oh, look at that nice question mark. You got to get in the median though and roll it. How about that for the first unprotected left-hand turn? That was awesome. I'm going to go ahead and force a U-turn if I can, just for the demonstration of this. It should map a U-turn, and it did up here at this intersection that I've done before. So wow. Yesterday I was driving the Model Y, and it does not do a question mark on 12.5.4. 12.5.5, the Cybertruck does a question mark. Now, it did not wait in the median on that one just because of the scenario. Okay, we got a tight window here for a U-turn. Is it going to roll this U-turn, or is it going to wait? Ooh, it saw that van coming and it waited. I'm really, really happy with that. Okay, there's the wheel turning. Four-wheel steering going on, a little bit slow, but man, it went all the way into the middle lane on that one. That was impressive. right out of the gate, a U-turn, an unprotected left-hand turn with some traffic. Just for sake, let's just do that again. Stick with me, we're gonna do one more. All right, guys, here we go in round two. I got the cameras up for you this time because, and this is the rear view camera and the side cameras, and we have a truck out front. So we're already kind of throwing a pretty varsity scenario here. There's our creep from our stop, and we just need to wait. Okay, we got a lot of traffic here. We just need to wait. We got a truck, so we definitely have the right of way. What I'm worried about, and I don't want to say worried, in this vehicle, waiting in the median is a very awkward situation because I can't see. Okay, he's going. Very confident that it waited. Now we're gonna go in. Nice strong question mark. And I didn't need to wait, but you can see in the cameras, it had a great view. So once again, that was another unprotected left turn with another scenario of the truck in the median there. Trying to just recreate the U-turn again so we get a second scenario there. Wow. So far out of the gate, I'm impressed with that. Pay attention to the road. I don't have sunglasses on at the moment. And it looks like we do have some traffic we're gonna need to wait for this U-turn here. Steering wheel is moving. Okay, wait, okay. Wow, it went to an aggressive approach. I'm not crossing the line. You can see that here. Don't go. He doesn't have his lights. Okay, that was good. It was a small gap there, but I'm not confident enough that it can do the U-turn quick enough for a small gap. So I needed to wait on a large gap. And just to show you, it's got the U-turn map there. Don't go. Okay, this is good. It's acting like it wants to go. The wheel is turned. 2 more cars, you got all the time you need. That's what it needed to do. It needed to wait on the time it needed. This is a new function here. And there it goes. See how slow it's going? And see the trajectory here on the screen? It's just uncertain, but it needs to make sure it gives itself enough time to do that maneuver. But hey, 2 out of 2, it made good decisions on 12.5.5. Nice job, Tesla AI. I'm really proud of that. Wow. Okay, I'm gonna do one more scenario where I'm gonna do a right-hand turn out of my unprotected left turn, so let me set that up for you. Stick with me. Okay, I've got it set up now. Sorry, it took a second to get my route set up, but I just want to engage the squircle. There we go. And I'm just showing you here, I've got Auto Max on, and at 0, it does need a little bit of an accelerator tap to get going. It's a little different than the Model Y is, where sometimes it'll just roll after you engage it. But here, I'm just going to show you the right-hand turn out of this intersection. A little bit of traffic there. Okay, it's a small gap. If it goes, it needs to commit. And it did a fleur-de-lis there with that other car turning in, and it went straight away. So very, very nice there. None of the decisions have scared me so far. I was a little bit nervous about the U-turn kind of being, taking the largest gap possible. But yeah, here we are, FSD in the Cybertruck. I cannot tell you how long I've waited to start talking about this and making this video. My camera setup is not as good as the Model Y. Those of you that are familiar with my videos, you're used to me having an HDMI extract. I am in the process of trying to source a screen and an MCU to help develop the HDMI extract for the Cybertruck with some help. I have not found that equipment yet. I need to kind of find a salvage one, try to avoid retail because it is a little bit of an R&D experiment to get it working. I don't want to buy retail parts until we figure it out. So if any of you know where to get it, maybe a screen that's even cracked but functional or an MCU or something, hey, either email me or DM me. I'd really like to get that going. And maybe we can get some other Cybertruck owners that are invested in this that want to do it. So anyway, no HDMI extract, so I'm going to be blowing this up as best I can. Lighting will obviously not be optimal based on the scenario. Today it's a little bit overcast, so it might work out good. And also, I do not have a CAN bus extract because they're using an ether loop on the Cybertruck that is different than the CAN bus architecture using the vehicle and chassis bus on the Model 3 and the Y that I'm familiar with. That doesn't mean that the ether loop can't be tapped into and we may be able to extract some CAN data if it's there. I just don't know yet, and none of us have figured that out. So I won't have my torques, my braking, and my speeds and things. We are taking a left-hand turn here at Birkenhead, and once again, it is waiting to the very last second. They're at 0.1 miles. It's got the blinker signal on, and it needs to get over, and it might have jammed itself. This is a complaint I had on 12.5.4. I need to get over one lane and then into the turn lane, and now here I'm jammed. So it's going to force itself, isn't it? Is it going to go over? Okay, it forced itself. It kind of cut a truck off, but now I've got to get all the way over. So it did it. but I'm not happy with the way it did it. Now we've got an unprotected yellow arrow here. It needs to do the same thing that it has done on the Model Y. It's just everything is somewhat new to me, so I'm having to kind of treat everything with kid gloves because I'm not sure what to expect. Right over the railroad tracks, but boom. Wow, you can tell this is built off of the same model. I have a feeling just the control, four-wheel steering, steer-by-wire, and some of these things are giving it some differences here. All right, this is our narrow roads test, and I think we're going to get the scenario I hoped here. The Cybertruck is bigger, and we need to creep before we go. The Cybertruck is bigger than the Model Y, and look at that. It went by that car, no problem. We got a speed bump to go over, and a car to go around, and some debris on the right. Perfectly fine. The narrow roads was just fine there. I'm going to pop up the cameras here just so you can see the repeater, the wheel distance it's giving. Looks like we've got one more scenario here with this intersection that you might be able to see how it's going to interact. But it's not doing any of the old version 10, version 11 narrow roads issues. It's not freaking out. It's not stopping letting the other car go by. It's just smoothly progressing on through. And you can see with no cars, it's giving itself about a foot, but it was going over a little bit further as those cars went by. And then that right there, I'm going to give a snapshot because it is missing some of these speed bumps. I still do have the snapshot button. I did want to show you, I have the camera blocked on the front, and I'm doing this on purpose just so I can do the full drive without any evidence that the front camera is needed for FSD. I have a little piece of painter's tape over that. So we got one more scenario here with the narrow roads and the cars coming out and a speed bump. And you know what? At the very last second, it jogged over just a little bit. That was really good. So it did kind of nudge over for that car. That was great. Okay, so here is our suicide lane scenario. This has kind of been proven on this stack that the suicide lane is not available for a waiting, at least previous to this. So I think that I'm going to go ahead and edit the trip here while I've got a second and take that out, and I should be able to do that, and the route should still work. Yes, it did. Okay. So what that means is it's got to look full left and right to make sure it's clear to go all the way in what I would call a roller on my unprotected left-hand turn, where it goes the whole way without pausing. But to do that, it's got to have adequate visibility in both directions, and it's sometimes got to wait on the gap in both directions that takes a little longer. Humans will go to that suicide lane. It's probably debatable based on local laws whether or not you should do that. I'm just telling you what people do here in this scenario, because this intersection, if you notice, it's at an odd angle. Okay, so we're clear to see how he's waiting, and then he proceeded. All right, we got a school bus to the left, and we're clear to the right. Is it going to wait? Oh, it's going to wait. Okay, now we got a school bus. Okay, it decided to wait. Which is a good decision. Now we're clear to the left, and here comes clear to the right now. Is it going to go? Nice. Another really good decision. And straight into the left lane. So, that's just like the Model Y did. It's just in a bigger truck using different tools, meaning steer-by-wire and four-wheel steering and, different dimensions on the vehicle. So that lane change was actually pretty good timing. Here we are at 0.4 miles ahead of the turn, and it got into the middle lane. That's good. We need to get over one more, and it's doing it early. Great. That's exactly what I needed to see. I don't know why it didn't do that on that previous one, but it didn't. Let's talk a little bit about this Auto Max. So you see here, this Auto Max is in this setting. We're going to test this on the highway also, but before we get to the highway, and I've got a little traffic here, I'm just going to show you, I can go into autopilot, and I can turn off this speed offset while I'm driving. So you can learn to fiddle with that. I don't know if that is a setting that I can do over here on my button. There's ride height. No, so some people wanted me to take my ride height to high to see if it has anything to do with FSD. I'm going to go ahead and hit ride height high, and you can see that it is high now. And I'm up to 12.4 inches with FSD engaged. But while I'm in Auto Max, I can bump up this max speed here. So I'm currently in a 40, I'm turning right, and it has 50 set as max. So I think this is what you guys were asking about, and perhaps this is our solution to the Auto Max not being perfect yet. Looks like we've got some emergency vehicles up here that are blocking the road off, so it's actually good I'm not going that way. Might have a little bit of rerouted traffic because of it, so we might not get to test our Auto Max here. But in any case, you can see the ride height comes down when you go a certain speed. So while it didn't kick FSD off, it didn't give you any sort of warnings that you couldn't raise or lower the ride height. I guess I can go to low just to, show you that it's going to go down to low, and FSD stays engaged the entire time there. Haven't touched the steering wheel once. I do have some sunglasses in here I can put on. I'm going to go ahead and put on my sunglasses so you guys can see that I'm doing that. On the Model Y, my voice is a little squeaky. Maybe it's because I'm so excited. On the Model Y, it feels like it's a looser system when sunglasses are engaged. When sunglasses are on and the auto is engaged. Okay, so I normally don't do this drive, and maybe I should when there's a little less traffic, but you see that flashing school zone? So this is what we've been talking about reading signs. Obviously the lead car is controlling my speed here, but this sign flashing yellow means right now and this time of morning it's 15 miles an hour. The speeds indicators here didn't change. Nothing changed that indicated to me that it would have done that on its own. So I'm not exactly sure when Tesla's going to be able to solve that sort of problem. Maybe we'll talk about that at the We Robot event in LA at the Warner Studios in the next, we're at 11 days now. I'm really excited that I get to go there. That was honored to get that invite kind of in the middle with a bunch of other folks on X, but neither here nor there. I will be at the We Robot event. So I'm going to leave the 50 max on. Maybe I'll even go back to auto and then turn it back on when we're in the... I do have to re-acknowledge it looks like, but you can do it while you're driving. So it's not like FSD where you can't change things in the profile while you're driving. So I don't know. I think this is feeling so far exactly like 12.5.4. The decisions have felt good. I did see Omar and Dirty Tesla last night. Both drove it while I was asleep. The biggest issue that I saw was on left-hand turns. It was encroaching on the median or the yellow line, so it didn't have the right radius, perhaps. And maybe this is a four-wheel steering thing or something like that, but it wasn't following the right trajectory. And I saw two critical disengagements, one by each of them in scenarios like that. So maybe in one of our scenarios, we'll have that today. I've done a couple left-hand turns and it didn't do that yet. All of mine have had a vehicle perhaps, and well, it didn't run over the median on my unprotected left, so it didn't do it there. Yeah, so we'll keep looking at that. I don't know. I think that the length of time we waited for FSD to come to the Cybertruck, okay, need that, slow down. Okay, it slowed down just fine. That deceleration curve was uncomfortable to me, meaning like here I am driving a new build. I'm not quite sure what to expect. I, as the driver, saw those brake lights and I would have been slowing down. We got a nice yellow. You see the other cars here going for it. The Cybertruck decided to wait. That was perfectly the right decision there based on the lead car in front of me. So that braking, you heard me kind of get a little bit nervous there because there was a bus and a car with their brake lights on and the Cybertruck was coming, but I don't know, it didn't feel like it was decelerating at the rate I would have wanted. But it did it just fine, and I didn't touch the brakes or anything, so it ended up being fine, and that's just where the humans have to get used to the actual programming and the curves of how this model is driving right now. What we're going to do here just in a little bit, I probably should be editing my trip while we're here. I am going to delete that point. Let me make sure that works. And it does do exactly what I wanted. So here we're leaving Wilson Boulevard, we're joining 295, and then we're going to join I-10. I did this on my 12.5.4 first impressions drive. There's usually a little bit of rush hour traffic here also, but I also wanted to test out AutoMax and then turn it off and verify we can look at him running that red light. And the slowdown perfectly handled by a robot. Nice job there. That's what humans do that. He actually might not have been running a red light as much as he had the unprotected left and he saw that I wasn't moving yet. But when he went into the lane, I didn't proceed. The vehicle did great. Okay, so coming up, we're taking onto an on-ramp, accelerating to highway speeds. I'm going to leave AutoMax on kind of see how it feels and looks, and then I'm gonna turn Auto Max off and then kind of scroll it up, kind of determine what the max speed is for Cybertruck FSD, see if we see any changes. This is gonna be the first end-to-end version 12 software stack that's been driven on the highway by me. So whether or not we're gonna feel it different, I don't know, but that's what we're gonna see here. So coming up to the intersection, got the blinker on, kind of slimed over in there, didn't jump into the lane too necessarily. We have a merge lane here. Is it gonna, okay, so it's jumping into the right. We'll see if it merges to the left. I don't want it to pass him. If it passes him, see, okay, here we go. It put the blinker on. It did that just fine. So that was a condensing lane scenario. I know I did have a follower ask me for that. And now I got to get into the lane over here. It's got its blinker on. And here we are, end to end on the highway. I'm so glad this is finally here on this version. And as you can see on the scroll wheel with Auto Max on, I can't do anything. It's not doing anything there. I can go ahead and change lanes with my blinker. I do have some traffic, so I'm gonna go ahead and initiate a blinker change to force it to get over. You can see all of the red cars are there, just like you would expect, and they created a gap for me. He's flashing, and is it gonna take it? And it took it. So a truck back there did the double flash to let me go. I don't think the truck understands what that double flash was, but it did it. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and disengage Auto Max. Not that I can bump the speed up any, but Auto Max is now off. There's max 72. How high will it go? 85. So now, version 12, end-to-end on the highway, and I've got 85 max set. Now, I don't know how fast it's gonna go in this traffic. This isn't a great test of will it get up to 85. I feel like it's kind of just using its distance measuring in order to maintain proper speed distance calculations on how close it should be. All right, it's getting in the right lane. I need to edit the trip now. And I need to, okay. I'm gonna wait one more. I'm gonna wait till we get on that on-ramp because I don't want it to find another route. What we're doing here is we're on Interstate 295. We're merging onto Interstate I-10, one of the largest intersections in the country with number of lanes and things like that. I'm not gonna say the highest traffic in the country. There are places much worse than this. And it's getting the blinker over, so it definitely wants to get over to the right. It's doing great. I'm really happy with this. And then I-10 East is doing a good job there. I'm gonna go ahead and delete that point, done. And the reroute, it did exactly what I want. Okay, this is great. I'm getting better at this, modifying my route and having the right timing and distance and being able to manipulate the screen without being yelled at. I haven't been yelled at once with the sunglasses on, which goes back to that point I was making. I feel like it's got a looser model when glasses are on. And I say that because it's a little bit more attentive when it can see my eyes. It cannot see my eyes with this camera up here. It can see my face and the glasses on my face, but it can't see my eyes. It doesn't have any sort of sensor to do that. I feel like I'm encroaching on this center line just a little bit on the outside radius of this. I don't want to say it's uncomfortable, but this car right next to me, as a human driver, I would be staggering a little bit. All right, so we are in a left turn only lane, and it does know that, and it's giving a little bit of an acceleration. You see the 70 max went there. I'm gonna see if I can bump it up to 85 again, and it does allow me to go to 85, and I'm just doing that to demonstrate how fast it can and will allow you to select it there. I believe also, I got traffic coming up here, but I'll fiddle with the settings here after we decelerate for this traffic. You can see coming over this crest here, we're gonna start to get into this rush hour traffic that we were in last time. I know last time I fast forwarded through it, but I probably have so much to talk about, I'm not gonna do that again. Okay, I felt the brakes engaged at a little bit different time there. It's almost like it was using regen braking and then it got close enough and it tapped the brakes, or something changed where when I got too close, the tug came that I wanted to feel on that decelerate. Okay, I wish I had my G media here, so I'm just gonna talk you through it. The very end of those brakings are a little aggressive. It's not like it calculated the smooth decel curve all the way to that car. It's like it knew it needed to slow down, and then all of a sudden it said, whoa, that's too close, and it tugged a little bit more in almost like an emergency braking type scenario. It wasn't emergency braking, but it tugged more like that. So this is what we've all been waiting for, guys. Cybertruck we didn't have auto steer, so we went straight to end-to-end neural networks FSD. For those of us that own the Cybertruck since early this year, or even longer for some of you, this is the mode we've wanted, right? We've had traffic-aware cruise control only, but now here I am, hands-free, putting my hands behind my head in traffic and just letting the truck do the work. I wish we had auto steer just in the meantime, but they skipped it. And if you notice in the settings, there's not even an auto steer option here that I've figured out yet. Maybe there is. Maybe if I deselect full self-driving, there is something, but I don't think there is. Normally there's this traffic-aware cruise control, auto steer beta, and then full self-driving supervised button. So I did want to point out, when you deselect the automatic speed offset, this little section right here pops up. Set speed is set to speed limit, and current speed is not selectable. But you do get the offset percentage there. You can't change it to fixed. But if you turn on automatic speed selection, you see how it disappears. And then you turn it back off, and then you get this offset. So what this should mean, here I am on 55, and I guess I need to wait on another one. I've got 10% selected, right? So it does look like it's using that 10%. How high can I go here just to show you guys? This should be the same as all other settings. Okay, 30% is the max. So I'm just going to leave it there as an example so we can see that it's calculating that with this auto set speed kind of option here that we've been kind of waiting on. Because this has been one of the most frustrating things that Tesla AI hasn't been able to kind of solve, is a good speed selection scenario. Most of the times it feels like it's going too slow, and in very slow roads it's going way too fast. Like in a 25 or 30, it's doing 40, 42 sometimes. And I know folks have said that you'll get a ticket every single time in a scenario like that. Some of you have commented before that in some of these I don't know, I guess I'll call them speed trap towns, or these rural towns where you go from like a 2-lane 55-mile-an-hour highway, and then there's one speed limit sign that drops it down to 35, and there's usually a policeman sitting right on the other side of that sign with a radar gun just waiting to generate some revenue for his small town. That's a real thing in this software. And it feels like, you as a driver either need to be able to manually scroll it down quickly, or an auto speed max needs to have some sort of expected real-time slowdown for scenarios like that, or it could get very frustrating for drivers that don't realize how fast it works. Something to think about, though, that is the scenario I've heard most folks worry about, is the deceleration at the speed sign could get you if it's a big drop, from a cruise speed down to perhaps a safer speed. So what else can I talk to you here? I'm just going to scroll my max up again to show you how high it can go. Actually, I was going to slow it down. We haven't been able to see if this goes up to that actual speed, or if you have to use the accelerator to encourage it to go up to that speed. That might be something for another test without any traffic in the future. But to me, it should work exactly like the version Stack 11 was working with that mode on. And also having that mode selection for city streets, I think could be a good workaround for the meantime. If you're going down a road and just select the speed you wanted if the offset isn't about right. You might not have noticed there, but this Jeep just kind of merged right in front of me. The Cybertruck didn't do anything unusual there. It just eased back just like I would have expected it to. I really don't know what to expect on end-to-end on the highway, and I think many of the non-Cybertruck owners honestly were asking me this morning to show this part of the drive, because this is the version they're waiting on for their Model 3s and their Model Ys that we don't have yet. So maybe the Model 3 and Y, as Ashok Kalaswamy said this morning, will get end-to-end on the highway in the coming weeks. I guess they've trying to get these models to work on all the different cars. Obviously, this is a hardware 4 vehicle with an additional bumper camera, so it's a little bit different hardware than the 2020 Model Y I have. It is interesting that this darn bumper camera isn't used at all, and it's not squawking one bit about not having it. I'm going to have to think of some other tests where that bumper camera should be used more in the Vision Auto Park scenarios, where it's parallel parking maybe. Obviously, when you back into a space like it typically does, you don't need the bumper camera as much. Maybe some other, maybe once we get the inclusion of, go park yourself or banish or whatever we're going to call it, we'll have some use cases for the bumper camera to be integrated. But it's pretty clear we don't have a 9-camera system here. We're still using the standard B-pillars, front cameras, and the tailgate camera. An interesting use case that I haven't tested yet, and maybe I can get it in on this drive. If not, I'll do it on another. I think Dirty Tesla last night in the middle of the night did throw the tailgate down, and the truck seems to drive just fine with the tailgate down in FSD. I don't know if that's in all scenarios or not yet. I should test that myself before I quote that, but I thought I saw him do the tailgate down and it worked. It's an interesting scenario. Take away an additional camera, and I know the bumper camera should be used in a lot of scenarios for FSD. At least I hope it is, because it's got a nice wide-angle view to the rear that augments the repeaters. Okay, we've got 1.8 miles till our turn here. For those of you that remember my Memorial Park First Impressions drive that included this highway last time, it got stuck on the other side of a white line. All right, it just got the urge that it needs to get over. Turn the blinker on. There's a nice gap here behind this trailer, and it did it. I think that's an exit-only lane here in a bit. This is doing really, really good. I don't have any problems with highway. Honestly, I can't tell you I noticed the difference. Version 11 was solid. I don't have any problems with it. Obviously, there's some things about merges and lane selection and how it behaves behind trucks and when it decides to go around or stay put. I guess that's another thing we can look at while we're in traffic. The dynamics, I'm in comfort mode on my acceleration. I don't have any other, I'm trying to think, is there a setting here for aggressive lane changes? I don't know that I have one in here. You know how we have the assertive and the average setting? I don't see that in here on lane change aggressiveness, unless it's in another screen, and it very well could be. There's navigation, display, charging, controls. Yeah, I don't see it here. So maybe we've lost we just have the acceleration mode. And ride handling, preferred ride height. Yeah, so I guess it's not here. Auto shift out of park. I should have that on for this. This setting, for those of you this is kind of a tip for those of you that do testing and then you do daily driving. I recommend you create a profile just for your testing scenarios. So I've got my Cybertruck profile, which is my roaming profile that goes between vehicles and it's in the cloud, but I've got a local profile both in the Model Y and in the Cybertruck for testing. And that way you can set your camera placements, whether or not you want your repeater cameras to come on or not, whether or not you want certain settings to always be there or not. And probably the best thing is all of the waypoints that I use for testing, like my FSD return and my FSD south and all the waypoints I use to create my scenarios are saved in the favorites of that profile. That way when I go to my daily driving, I don't have all the FSD testing waypoints mixed in there in the favorites that I use. Just a little trick. I also used to use profiles as an option to change settings when you had more options between auto steer and FSD. You could have a profile that was called auto steer and you could have a profile that was called FSD, and in those settings you could have those turned on, and that was the only way you could actually get in and out of FSD without stopping a drive, was to change profiles. It was a little bit of a workaround. I'm just watching here, it's doing a lane change to get over to the right much earlier this time. See that solid white line up there to the left, guys? That is the one that the Model Y got stuck on the other side of, and it was turning its blinker and it couldn't get over because it was honoring that white line. And you see here that white line forks. So it was kind of 95 north and then 95 south kind of were forking there. The Cybertruck did it just fine. I will notice here, look, I'm at 50 and it gave me 45 max. I don't understand what it's doing there, so I'm just gonna bump it up all the way. I have my offset set to 30%. So I'm not exactly sure why that happened. I'm just going to double check that I didn't change that setting. Yeah, I've got offset to set to 30% with auto speed offset off. We need to do more testing on that. I would have expected as the speed signs changed and were recognized, it would have added 30%, which would have been 15 miles an hour there. So it should have gone to 65, not 45. Okay, so we've exited the highway mode here. And now we're going back into city streets. But really, I'm going to leave the auto speed max there. Really, you can't tell. And there you see 50 went to 65. So that, okay, really good scenario here. Stop truck, dangerous situation to do some work. It seamlessly went around him. There was a car behind me. Guys, that did it perfectly. I was thinking I was going to have to disengage there, not because the truck wouldn't have gone around, but because there was a car on my rear quarter that the truck needed to get in front of in order to go around without stopping. It did not emergency stop or anything there. It eased over and around, possibly a little too close to that person. There was actually a person underneath the truck working. Nice job, Tesla AI. I hope that makes the highlight reel. That was something I didn't expect to see. And also just goes to show when you're testing and talking, you've got to be ready for almost anything when you're working a new software build. I really should be treating this like version 8 back in 2020 because it's new. I don't know what to expect. The fact that it's got a name of 12.5.5 should imply that it's just an evolution of 12.4.4. Okay, I'm looking here. There are no right on red scenarios. I was able to take a right turn into the right lane, and it did that just fine. I'd love to have a no right on red scenario just to test it, but I'll tell you, more than likely, it's not working. The no right on red scenarios, it doesn't read signs. Unless it's got some sort of map or lane data that's embedded into the map, that the lane is labeled no right on red, it's not seeing signs and reading them to do it. It does seem to understand like the road closed and detour, but I don't know that it's reading the sign as much as it sees an obstruction it can't go through. Things to think about as to how we're going to get from where we are to where we need to go, especially with Robotaxi coming out, and maybe we'll learn more about that here in about 10 days, 11 days. Okay, let me tell you where we are. We're coming up on Memorial Park. I'm going to reset the scenario here. I probably will go ahead and do an auto park scenario and back it in and then let it pull itself out like I did on the Model Y, just to kind of create these scenarios, because it seems like if I just keep doing the same thing, life creates its own scenarios of interactions, and that seems to be the best thing to do. And I also have an additional treat I'm going to do here. I don't know if you can see on the map this second waypoint. I'm going to go to that waypoint because that is that cul-de-sac where it almost got stuck about 6 months, a year ago. All right, we're taking a left across this yellow. We have a pedestrian and a jogger that's crossing, and we need to wait on a gap. Okay, the pedestrian is really no longer an issue. Wow, it's fine. Now we got to go around these parked cars. No problems. Yeah, guys, I'm not going to say under one drive should this go wide. I think the answer is it could go wide. But with what Omar and Dirty Tesla saw last night, I don't know what it's doing here. But obviously we're at the end of our navigation, so I just want to see. All right, it really pulled way over and out of the way is what it did. So I'm going to go ahead and disengage because I'm going to pull up because you see we're at the end of our navigation. And I'm hoping there's a spot up here I can park in just so we can get. Ooh, that's a tight spot. Will it do it? Oh, wow. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and start an auto park scenario here. It's not super tight, but this car next to it is not perfectly in its lane. Bumper camera is see, the bumper camera is right there. So I'm going to go ahead and swipe there so you can see what it's doing. And I can see how that car is over the line. And it's even rendering it here that he's over the line too. Nice. It's going to do it. It looks like it's going to do it in one shot too. Is it going to give a little bit more room to that car on that side because he's not? It really didn't. It even biased a little bit to the right, so I have more room on the left than I do on the right, and he's the one that encroached. So it's like it centered on its own lines. So I would not use this parking spot because I'm asking for that guy to ding my car or scratch it or, you know, be a hater. But over on the left, I'd go ahead and move over. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and edit the trip. And we are going to go to Memorial Cul-de-sac, which is what we're going to do. And I am going to just activate the pedal to drive. It is in drive. You see, I do have the squircle up there, and I'm still in the spot. I engaged it in the spot. I kind of want to go right here, only because that oak tree scenario is over to the right. It really wants to go to the left. I'm going to force it to the right. All right, I'm going to force it to the right. You see, I put the right blinker on, and it went with me. I think I tapped the accelerator. Oh, what's it doing? Oh, did it get too close to the curb? Is it stuck? I think it got too close to the curb. If I tap the accelerator, you see this right here? This is what we see. It wants to do a 3-point turn, but it can't. This is the trajectory mapping a reverse. I think I'm okay. I'm going to press the accelerator slowly. Okay, now I'm going over the curb. You see me going over the curb? I'm just disengaging for it. So what we learned there, unable to do 3-point turn. So I just mapped that data out. What we can see is the planner had the solution. The car didn't have the function. It was mapping the trajectory to do the 3-point turn, but it's not part of the stack yet. Even though the car can do a 3-point turn, in order to do auto park vision assist, that vision assist is not part of the end-to-end stack. So there's a difference there. Here's my 30% though taking effect here. And you can see I can still run that up, but the default is being set to the 30%. I'm really glad. See, that just happened by accident. I didn't intend to do that. But it knew it was next to the curb. It didn't try to bump the curb. It just stopped and was mapping the trajectory, and the car couldn't do anything. So it got stuck and just waited there. I don't know that it was waiting as much as it was telling the neural network to do a reverse, and the neural network wasn't responding with a reverse. Okay, so here you see we're doing this turn, and we're going to go over to this cul-de-sac. But here is this intersection that I love because of the way this oak tree blocks the view if it went too far forward. Right now we're at our NHTSA stop location, or our stop line, and it's definitely just waiting its turn. It's not even creeping. It's just sort of like, yeah, I can go nowhere yet. I'm going to wait on a gap. Maybe when this little traffic line goes away, it'll start to think about it by creeping. But, ooh, an interesting scenario coming up here too. Can you see this pedestrian with a dog? Okay, I thought he was going to walk in front of us. But the creeping we're doing now, there's the creep. Here's my visibility. I can see it. It's wide open, so it should just go. Perfect. Ooh, it did it. You see that? Okay. Safety critical disengagement with left turn crossing the yellow line. Okay, so we got our scenario that Omar and Chris also saw. That is the exact same thing. It was an easy scenario, so it didn't need to do it. I'm trying to re-engage there, come to the left-hand turn here. I don't, that's like a gremlin in the stack or something. I don't know, I've never seen it do that on the current versions of the Model Y. Okay, so now we're going left in here, and now I'm gonna go ahead and edit my trip, because this is what's gonna happen, is it's gonna get stuck again. But there's a little cul-de-sac down here that, if you remember, it can't, shucks, I gave it found a parking lot. I wanted it to go to the cul-de-sac, but the interesting thing is here is this isn't gonna help it. I can't let it go in there. Okay, so we're in a private spot. I disengaged for improper navigation. So I'm gonna let it go down the car. I mean, it wasn't a bad idea to turn in here, but it boxed itself in an even worse scenario. It showed me all the parking, and it saw a road. Maybe it knew it couldn't do it here at the end, but I'm going to go ahead and put it in drive here and let it go up to this cul-de-sac. What I would like it to do is go right and then figure it out. And maybe we'll see this in this trajectory. It is taking it far right. Is it going to be able to do it? It's a hard left turn, four-wheel steering. Okay, see, it's going to get itself in the exact same scenario where it wants to reverse. You see this? It's doing it again. It's mapping its wheel path for a three-point turn. It just can't get itself out. My Model Y got itself out of this scenario by going just wide enough right and being able to complete the turn. The truck isn't even trying to do that. If I press the accelerator, it doesn't have the right steering angle to continue. It's got the wrong steering angle to do that. So three-point turn reversals, I'll call that a needed function. It's like they've already thought of it, or at least the video clips making the magic happen knows that that's how we need to proceed. I'm going to engage here while this truck is in our kind of world, so he kind of sees how it handles that truck that stopped. Fine. It just went slowly by him at 15 miles an hour. All right, while we're here, I'm going to go back to auto speed so we can talk a little bit more about the speed selections it's doing. And while we got an unprotected left turn here, so after that car goes, it should find its way. He's turning, and it should turn right after him. Is it going to cut off that yellow line? It didn't cut off that yellow line. So that scenario that we had, every single driver I've seen has seen it now. So I'm the third one. I don't want to say that should keep it from going wide, but in the past, things like that have created point releases that sometimes can add delay. Not saying that's what needs to happen here, but it definitely was a repeatable scenario, not just a gremlin in the stack that found itself coming out. This road has some potholes on it. I've talked about potholes almost every time I'm on this road, waiting for the day that it'll kind of curve and straddle one or go around it. Most of the potholes are on the other side. You can even see this wet area here is where they are pretty bad. Going around a trailer, had a lead car show them the way. We're in a left turn only lane, so it needs to get back over to the right, and it did that just fine. That was great. So what do you guys think about that three-point turn scenario? Do you think it's kind of like U-turns used to be, where it was just out there as something they know they need to do, and they just need to give it some clips and maybe enable reverse to the stack so that it can do it when it needs it? What worries me is some of my own personal three-point turns, some of my own personal U-turns have turned into three-point turns when I can't turn the radius I thought I needed to. So if, and this is where you just need to be diligent supervising FSD. If it doesn't make a U-turn in the speed or the radius that you need, and you need to back up as to complete it, you're going to have to be very quick in that, especially if there's oncoming traffic involved. Because you could get yourself in a pretty bad scenario if the traffic is approaching at a fast speed. And the truck doesn't complete a U-turn. Okay, the map is taking us straight through here. We're essentially on our Memorial Park return route, which should give us all the same dynamics that we get this time of day. We might get another school scenario, but we'll probably, as usually in school zones, be behind a lead car. I do have it back to auto max, so we'll just have to kind of wait to see if we get a speed selection that's appropriate or inappropriate. I don't know, guys. This car's turning left, and it could easily go right around him. I think they knocked it out of the park, on average. Considering this is a new platform getting FSD, this is where if I were, Jim Farley at Ford or the CEOs at the other companies, and they're trying to figure out their path towards autonomy, where I would start to say, okay, they were able to deploy that to a different vehicle. It did take this amount of time and that kind of hardware, but they did it. First cut. Now, granted, they've been testing this version for months. I've been documenting the ADAS operators driving on my unprotected left-hand turn for quite a while now. So I think that's probably our best benchmark as to how long they've been driving FSD on the streets, which has been, months now. But it's exciting to see that they're able to do it with such a different platform. Flashing yellow here. Some people have issues with flashing yellows. I don't. Maybe it's the data I'm collecting for them, and it just goes right through them. I think there's another one coming up that we'll be able to see. All right, next we have an intersection where it kind of has a little divided highway, a stop sign that it needs to stop for, and it just kind of merges. You see this little yield split sign. It does create an interesting dynamic here with traffic flow, but the visibility is usually adequate. All right, it's wide open, so it's got its whole street to use. As soon as it makes a right turn, it does have a truck to go around, and it sees it, and it gave it fine. It didn't give any problems. It didn't jerk or anything. It did slow a little bit once it kind of recognized the truck was there. Now we're unprotected with a car forward-facing that has the right-of-way and a pedestrian a little further back, but it didn't need to interact with that at all. Oh, here's some traffic cones marking, and traffic cones are being recognized here as just occlusion occupancy networks. We have a lot of debris on the road. You can see they're also showing up as occupancy network blobs. Several flashing lights here, and they are all still coming in red as soon as they go underneath the truck. That's been there since the beginning of FSD. I'm not sure if it's just a camera angle or something, but you see right here at the last second when we go underneath it, it turns red even though it's not. It's not treating it like a red light, so obviously they've got something built in there so it's aware of its own inference of that light. Okay, so now we have no car in front of us. We're 30 speed and it's going 32, 33. I'm okay with that. As long as it's not going 42. That feels like a good offset to me. It's not going too slow, and it's using 30 without any sort of lead car controlling us. So maybe that's our first indication of some improvements with the Automax. I don't know. We'll have to keep looking at that. N of 1 experiments are never enough data to call something resolved. But okay, the flashing school zone light is not on. Okay, it's 8. So I guess they're already in school. It's 9 o'clock now. So this little light scenario here, right here, is normally flashing at 15. We saw one at the beginning of the drive, even though I had a lead car controlling our speed. All right, coming up on these roundabouts, I'm not expecting any difference here, but obviously I'm a little concerned with going over curbs or bumps and stuff like that, so I'm going to just make sure it's following the right path. Oh, okay, that's a new behavior. It did not like that. And where's my snapshot button for that? Okay, so the Model Ys never stopped like that. It did not like that radius of turn there. I don't know why. We got one more here where it's not going all the way around, but it's joining the traffic circle, yielding perfectly. And then, so that may need a little bit more testing. I don't know. Obviously, it's a bigger car. Maybe its own boundaries got violated. It was an aggressive brake, though, so it thought it was going to hit something or go off the mapped surface. I don't think, that's to be unexpected. Obviously, it's a bigger car. I think the Model Y or the Model 3 would have done the same thing if it had encroached the curb or thought it was going to hit the curb. That's what it would have done. So, maybe maybe it needs to go slower. Maybe it needs to, be able to see around the corner as it goes a little bit better to make those speed decisions. I'm not sure what the solution is there, but more than likely that'll be repeatable on future drives. All right, guys, we are coming up on our kind of home stretch here. I like to call out gas prices. We're kind of marking time in history here. Here in Jacksonville, gas is $3.15 a gallon. And now that I own 2 Teslas, I haven't been to the gas station other than to use the restroom, perhaps on a road trip. I haven't bought gas, and well, I guess I put gas in my chainsaws, but that's about it. I'm really impressed. If we were to talk about what the disengagements have been about, well, I'd say the most critical one is encroaching on the yellow line. Here we have a scenario coming across this intersection, but I've got the dotted yellow to follow. I'm guessing it's going to be fine. I also have a lead car that it can use as a cheater if it needs to. And then 2 scenarios or 3 scenarios, it got itself in a situation where the truck wanted to reverse and do a 3-point turn, but that function is just not here yet. Reversing is not in the release notes. If you go look at the release notes under the software section, if we have time while we're driving here, the release notes do not mention reversing anywhere. When they say upcoming, you know, improved performance at intersections and stops. That note may be about our issue with the intersection crossing the yellow line. I don't know. Parking lots, maybe reverse could be included in that. Natural lane change decisions, I want earlier. They've all felt natural, but I think earlier is what the key is there. And then introduction of speed profile. So nothing in these release notes tell me adding of reverse capability to the stack so that it can continue to solve problems that it'll encounter. I think it's required. All right, here we are, protected left. Let's just make sure it's following its line. It's mapped. It's got a line mapped. There's a median here. Yeah, just fine. I don't know if you can see at the last second, the squircle kind of came to the right. Almost like it had made an adjustment on its trajectory once it saw that median, but it was smooth. I didn't have any problem with it. I can't tell you how great it is to drive this truck without having to touch the steering wheel and to know that it's looking all around me for other sort of obstacles or things that I might not be seeing. This truck does have limited visibility, especially into the blind spots down through the C-pillar locations. Those are most exaggerated when waiting in the median of an unprotected left-hand turn, because you have to kind of look back and far to the right in order to see how to merge, unless you're using the cameras exclusively. And when you're using these cameras exclusively, it takes a little bit of training to look at the depth and the field of view that these cameras have to see oncoming traffic. Because when they're going 60 miles an hour, they're very, very small. And you almost have to say, if I see a vehicle, don't go, because it can be going very, very fast. When I use my eyes to determine speed, I can sense speed much better with the parallax my eyes give me than looking through a camera here with my eyes. So it's just a note, you know, if you guys are out there driving the Cybertruck or any other vehicle and you're learning to use your cameras to make decisions, obviously you probably know what I'm talking about. It takes a little bit of practice. So we've driven the entire drive though with the what I'm trying to show you is that the bumper camera is still occluded. It hasn't squawked once about degraded visibility or anything like that. So I think conclusively we can say that the bumper camera is not used in 12.5.5 in any way, shape, form, or fashion. So that's a little unfortunate, but it is what it is. When that first came out, we all speculated whether or not that was just for parking. I do think that in Summon, and this does not have Summon yet, but when the first version of actually Smart Summon came out and the Model 3 and the Model Ys were backing up to get visibility, and then they would proceed, that actually, it's going to do a roller here. It's going to be perfect, I can tell. It's not going to encroach that line, I hope. No, with a car there, it seems to be working just fine. That's where this bumper camera can make a difference. You're going to have that visibility, but you've got to build that camera into your decision matrix of your model. So I'm expecting that Smart Summon, actual Smart Summon, when it gets deployed to this truck, will use that bumper camera, and we might get some more testing with that when it perhaps gets deployed. Don't know when that's going to happen. Haven't heard that deployment timeline, but the fact that they've got this working to me means we got to be getting close to actually Smart Summon on the Cybertruck also. They're finishing the whole stack. It's working seamlessly together. The fact they've got Vision Auto Park working, it's interesting that it stopped here, even though it remapped. I'm going to go ahead and disengage. We're done with this drive, guys. I just want to thank you guys for sticking with me this long. If you watched the whole drive, this was kind of an epic video we've been waiting on. I'm going to try to render this as quickly as I can. I'm going to try to make this screen look as good as I can, and hopefully it all comes out and you enjoy it. Please leave feedback below. This is the beginning of a lot of testing. And I think that your feedback helps me show the things that many other people might want to see. So please give me feedback in the comments, either on X or here on YouTube, where I post this also, of things you'd like to see. In any case, this is Cybertruck 12.5.5 with end-to-end on highway and full self-driving supervised for the first time. Have a great day, everybody.